Thank you so much. I love being here with you guys. Like Kathleen said, it is meant to be interactive today. So in a minute, I am going to have you sign in to Lumio. We're going to actually join Lumio as a student first. So you are not going to be going to your teacher account. So I'll give you that information here in just a second. But today's session is called Let Them Lead, Elevate Student Voice and Choice with Lumio. But we're going to cover a lot of things that we already do in our classrooms. We want students to have that voice. We like to offer them different choices, choice boards, things like that. Down on the bottom there, you see that resources tab. If you can click that tab there, it will open up a page of resources. It's in what is called a Wakelet. And if you want to maybe go ahead and bookmark that and save it for later, it has lots of great resources that you can use for your smart boards or for Lumio. As you are all joining, if you take a look at my screen, you will see up in the top left-hand corner of my screen, there is like a little people icon there. Right now, it's showing me that I have 22 students that have signed into my class. That's a great tool for in the classroom. So you know if you have 25 students present, you're waiting for that 25 to sign in. I can click that people icon and see exactly who is in my class. I can also remove students from my class that way. If maybe they're signed in twice, or if it's a class that didn't get, or if it's somebody that didn't get signed out from the last class. That code, that 972372, that is my code. So I know there's a lot of websites out there that, they come up with codes for the students to join, and it's a different code each time. My code is my code all the time. So really, once my students join my class for the first time, they're never going to have to put that code in again. They can have it bookmarked and they would be able to join my class right away. If you have students, maybe you teach in the middle school or high school setting and they visit multiple teachers throughout the day, same thing. They would have a code for each student, or for each teacher. And when they go to lumioclass.com, they would see those teachers all listed after that initial sign in. All right, so up at the people icon, I can also, what I can do is I can turn on to show my class ID. And so when I do that, you'll see that it pops up down on the bottom. I can drag it around so that it's out of the way. And so any students that are coming in late, they can join that way. I also have the option that I could have just displayed this when you came in. I like to make the little separate page, but you don't have to make a page like I did. The students would be able to see the directions right here and sign in that way, or I can even copy that sign-in code and put it in their into their Google Classroom. Today's session, we are, and you're going to be able to see that I, as the teacher right now, am leading this session. At that same people icon under lesson pacing, it says teacher. I can always toggle that over to student. So, typically teachers going to start leading that session, teaching the content, and then maybe towards the end, they might have some independent activities for the students. So at that time, they could go ahead and toggle it over to student led. So today's goal is to really talk about offering that opportunity for choice and voice. All right, so we're going to look at some choice boards. We've got some activities that are called Shout It Out. I'm going to show you how to make some workspaces interactive. And all of this can be done and personalize that learning. All of it can be done with Lumio. All right, so our first slide, and if you've been with me before, you have seen this, but I always love to gauge where everybody is with their Lumio journey. And so right now, this page is non-interactive. It's a self-assessment. Where are you in your Lumio journey? I have it as non-interactive right now because we know with our students, a lot of times if it's already interactive, they're going to go in and they're just going to start clicking and moving things. So I can make something interactive on the fly. So I just wanted to demonstrate that for you. So again, that people icon that I keep talking about, when I go to that people icon, I get three options. One is individual handout. That's like giving each student their own worksheet. I have a group space, which is just like it sounds. It's going to split all of my students that are in class today into a group, and they're going to have a shared workspace. And then my last option is a whole class whiteboard, which means that everybody that's in my class today is going to be interacting on the same exact page. And so that's what I'm going to do with this one. Only the teacher can do this. Students cannot see this. Everything right now is totally anonymous. And so I can go ahead and click on that car and click the drop down arrow, and it's going to show me, I had a feeling that was you, Kathleen. It's going to show me who moved their car where, right? So it's a great way to just check in with my students, see where they are without any of my other students knowing and seeing what everybody else is doing. As a teacher, I love to sign into Lumio as I'm doing my lesson on a separate device, right? So if I am presenting Lumio on my smartboard, what I would do is probably have my laptop or Chromebook off to the side for reasons just like this, where I can actually click on those things and see which students have done what. At any time, maybe I have somebody that is not following directions and they have moved 100 cars onto that road. Up in the right-hand corner of my page, I can toggle off the ability for everyone to be able to edit. And now I have regained that control, taken that away from my students. But also, if there is somebody that has moved more than that one, I can see exactly who that student was. Maybe at that time, if I need to bump them out of my class and they need, watch with a friend or something because they didn't follow the directions. So you can easily do that. All right, moving on. The whole purpose of Lumio is to make life easier for you and interactive and engaging for your students. The whole point is to be able to take things that we already have, slides that we've used for the last couple of years or curriculum materials that come with our curriculum. We can import it, transform it so that now it's going to engage those students. They're going to be able to collaborate with each other. They're going to be able to question and reflect. And then I'm also going to be able to track their progress and get lots of that formative assessment data, as well as be able to provide them immediate feedback to my students. Real quick, these are just a few things that Lumio can do. We can take all of these things that we already have, things that we have already created, and bring it right into Lumio. And that's where we can create one of these 3 workspaces that I talked about earlier. We have 12 existing game templates where everything is already there. The template is there. It's just waiting for you to add the content. That content can be added manually, or right now we also have the ability that several of them can be created using AI. So all we need is our standard, and it's going to create that activity for us as well. And then a brand new feature is that we can actually create an entire lesson from beginning to end with AI. We have a Lumio library already in existence. Some of the activities I'm doing with you today, I pulled right in from the Lumio library because I did want to show you that there is great content that's already there in existence. Thousands of activities made for teachers by teachers. We've got YouTube, which is completely safe search, and you can pull those videos in without any ads or without any comments, so they don't get, into something that they shouldn't be getting into. We have the immersive reader. What's really cool about this immersive reader, it's this little icon over on the left-hand side of your screen. It's like a little book with a speaker. If I click on that, it will actually highlight anything that can be read out loud. So this is great for our struggling students, struggling readers, or maybe English as second language students. It allows it to be read to the students as well as translated into different languages, as well as picture dictionary. To get started real quick, just so that I can see who I've got with me today, this activity is called a Shout It Out. And so what I would love for you to do is engage in your screen there, and there's going to be 4 questions that are going to pop up. What is your role? What grade levels do you support? What would make this session effective? And what do you already love about Lumio? If you don't love anything about Lumio, that's fine. Just be honest. If you've never engaged with it, that's okay. But I really want you to engage with this because this is a really important activity for those students to show their voice. I love this shout it out activity. I can have as many as 6 questions or as few as 1 question at a time. It's a great way to brainstorm with your students or to get opinions from your students, and they are completely anonymous. As you'll see on my screen, everybody's answer is showing up as just a shape and a color because I have student names toggled off right now. Under settings, at any time, I can turn those students' names on. And this will be another reason why I might have that separate device. So maybe on that separate device, I have their names toggled on, but on the one that I'm displaying on my board, they are toggled off. And you really get a lot more participation this way, right? We always have those students that are in the back of the classroom that are shy or embarrassed or don't want to participate. So we're going to get a lot more answers from those students, and they're going to feel, more engaged in the lesson as well. At any time, if I want to highlight something, I'm going to go to this one here. What would make the session effective? I can go ahead and pull it up, right? If I want to pinpoint something or highlight it or have it as a talking point, and then I can actually go ahead and toggle through some of those other responses. So what is making the session effective? That engagement, the interaction, getting students more interested, ways to utilize a tool I'm getting to understand and truly love to give students choices. I love it. Visual examples, walkthroughs. So my goal is for the first, 20 minutes or so is to walk you through the student side. And then in the end, I will take you through the teacher side and show you how to do some of these things that we're seeing today. All right, so we're going to move on. Again, that was called a shout it out, a great way to get those students engaged. All right, so this here, I just wanted to show you this. So this was content that was created in Canva, if any of you are Canva users. And I have gone ahead and made it into a whole class whiteboard. So you might have something like this just as a morning check-in. Where students can come in. It says drag the emoji that is closest to how you feel into the cloud. So what you would do is just grab an emoji, drag it over to the cloud there. And I love this because it's simple. It doesn't take much time. I can use it every day, right? It can be reset every day. This is a great way because if I do have a student that maybe looks, they move the angry face or they move the sad face, that I can click on that shape again and I can click the arrow and I can see exactly who moved that shape. So if a kiddo's saying they're angry or sad or scared, right, that is somebody that I can check in with later in the day and just make sure they're doing okay. And nobody else has any idea who moved those shapes. The next couple slides are just some activities, some like getting to know you type things that you might use at the beginning of the year. And so this is called Getting to Know Our Class. Right now, it is not able to be interacted with, right? Because we want to go over the directions with our students. And all right, guys, I want you to move just one circle over to your favorite subject. So not only are they telling me their favorite subject, they're probably showing me their favorite color by dragging that colored circle. Over on the left here, would you rather? So would you rather talk to animals? You'll drag the pig up. Or would you rather be able to control the weather? After school, what do we like to do? Do we like to play sports or play video games or go outside or something else? So I'm just asking them to drag a check mark there. And then over or down in the bottom corner, how are you feeling about school? Am I excited or am I nervous? And so now I would go ahead and make that into a whole class whiteboard. So we are all engaging and interacting, and then we can kind of see, do others feel the same way I do, or am I one of the only? Just a great way for them to interact, right? A lot of them would rather do something like this, especially those shy ones, than, come up or participate and say their answer out loud. Here is one other one. So I'm going to do something different with this one. So right now I have the poll. And so it says to drag one item over the white space and share. So you get the choice, right? Do you want to share something you love, something you wonder, how you are unique, or something surprising? So I'm asking them just to do one thing. Of course, they can always do more than one thing. So what they're going to do is they're going to drag, one of these over there. And next to it, they're going to answer the question. So what is something you love? So maybe something I love, and I'm going to show you over on the left-hand side. I call this my everything button. So when I click on that, maybe I want to put a picture in instead of typing. There is an image icon there. If I click on that, so something I love, something I always did growing up, and I did it in college, I played soccer. So I could say, all right, something I love is soccer, resize it. Right? Or I could type it with my text tools over on the left-hand side. So lots of different options. Something else that I could actually do is I could actually record my audio. So students that maybe aren't great with typing or spelling, same thing in that everything button, there is a microphone there. So they could actually drag the heart there and then they could record and tell me something that they love. All right, so what I'm going to do, I am going to turn this into that individual handout, right? So that means that everybody is getting their own workspace. If you do look on my page, I just want to point out a couple things. So again, this is why I love to have that separate computer up over on the side. So right now I can see each one of my students that have been given the individual handout. If their name is bold, that means that they have opened the activity. Okay. If their names are not bold, that means they have not started the activity yet. If their name is bold and there are the three little dots next to it, that means that they are actively engaging in the activity. So at any time, what I can do as the teacher, so I can do this on the fly while they're working, or I can do this later that afternoon if they're going to be coming back to this tomorrow. So I can go ahead and I'm just going to pick somebody. Devin, you can see Devin has pulled the heart over. As Devin is working, I can go ahead and I can provide immediate feedback to Devin, right? So I can put a little sticker there, or I can type something and say, I love it, great job, or me too. And then I can go back and I can move on to another student's work as well. So a great way to give that immediate feedback for your students to feel heard, for them to feel comfortable in having that conversation back and forth with you. So another, like I said, kind of beginning of school type activity, just something for you to think about, or this could even be something as they come in the morning, if you do morning meetings. This is called Flip It Out. And so it is one of the templates that's already in Lumio. So it's just made to be flashcards. That's what it's typically made for. Okay. So I've used it before for students to practice vocabulary words or content. But what I have done, I've made this turn and talk activities. So this would be a great like morning icebreaker. If you do those morning meetings. And so all I did was I inserted the image for the turn and talk. Right. I just found that image and inserted it. And then I just typed in right into the template because it's all there. It guides me for how to do things. And so just some ways for your students to find their voice. That's a real quick, easy activity. This would have taken probably 2 minutes at the most to do because all of these templates are already there for me. And then here's another activity. Again, great for like a morning meeting. And I know this is kind of elementary, but try to think of some secondary ideas. So this is called rank order. This could be used for many, many different things. I've seen it used for alphabetical order. I have seen it used for putting story elements in sequence. I have seen it being used for history, putting events of history in order. This is just an opinion. So I am able to set up the heading. So the first and last, it depends on what you're doing, but I can change those words to fit what I want, what I'm doing. And so this is obviously just an opinion, right? So students, again, this is what they're thinking. They could then maybe put them in order, from first to last, what they think is the most important, and then submit it, or they could go and share with a partner, however the teacher wants to take that conversation. Okay, so a couple quick things that I'm going to show you before we go to the teacher side. Some ideas and activities that I love for giving students that voice and choice. Things that you all are probably already doing, right? This is nothing new. We're just putting it into Lumio. So of course we've got, would you rather? So students feel more important if they are given that choice. They are more excited to make a choice. So even if it's just between two things, would you rather this or would you rather this? A label reveal. I'm going to show you how you can use a label reveal as a way for students to have choice. And then our choice boards or our tic-tac-toe boards, they've been around forever. I think I've used it since I started teaching. I'm going to show you how you can easily bring that into Lumio. Okay, so a quick would you rather. I could easily make this into an academic activity, right? Would you rather write a personal narrative or would you rather act out a skit? And students could then drag their choice by dragging that acorn. Which one would they rather do? So, would you rather have leaves for hands or branches for hair? This activity here, this is our reveal activity. Okay, and so I was able to make this into a diagram, but it's now a choice diagram. So rather than let's label the parts of our plant, instead I have the directions. And so it says choose 3 tasks to complete. You can earn an extra surprise for doing the bonus. So all I did to create this was I brought an image in. And then I just clicked on where I wanted these little question marks to be pointing, and I was able to type in the text. So here is where I've got my different ideas for their activities. So they can click on them and decide which ones am I going to do? Am I going to do that bonus? I could have templates created for after this where they could be doing their work right in Lumio. So I could then turn it into being student-led rather than teacher-led. So I could introduce this as an activity, just have this slide as well as like 3 templates for the activities that they're going to do, and then everything could be done in Lumio. Here is another idea. This is those flashcards again. And so again, they're going to pick one gas idea. So which one do you want to complete? Then they're going to pick one out of the 3. So maybe they want to do this one for gas. They're going to do this one for solids, and they're going to do this one for liquids. Okay, so lots of choices there. They have to choose 3 of them. And so again, all I had to do was find the template that went on my flashcards, typed in these choices that were already on a choice board that I've used for years, right? But I've just updated it and put it in Lumio. And then one last one here. So I was able to actually do a slide for directions. I can always make it bigger by clicking the little blue box there. So directions, create 3 tasks. You must do 1 bronze, 1 silver, and 1 gold task. Okay, so just some great ways to get some choice in there for our students. Here is just a simple tic-tac-toe board. All right, something that I had on paper, I created it digitally, and then I can go ahead and maybe I want to create this as an individual handout. So now each student has their own copy of it, and they can move those X's and O's as they are completing their activities, right? So once they get done, they can decide which 3 they're going to do. And each student has their own workspace there as well. They can take notes or they can underline things or cross things out they don't want to do. The reading and writing choice board, this is already a student handout. So here is an example of our choice board. Okay, so complete activities of your choice and drag a pie to your activity boxes when you complete them, right? So they could drag their pie there. And I have included, this was what I was talking about, that you would include those templates right in Lumio. So I have a template made for each one of those activities. And so I could create it again and put it in as student-led, and then they can go back and forth and do the work as they see. Here's one other example. So for this choice board, this one I have set up to link to the activities for my students. And so when they decide which task they want to do, they can actually click on the link and it's going to take them to that page or to that website, and it tells them to drag the monster up to show that you have completed it. And so what I've done, you are able to link pictures and boxes and things like that to websites or to additional slides. And so I have it that when you are clicking on them. Lastly, this here is called a response activity. And so it's just a poll. Again, right, for students to voice how they're feeling about things. So how do you feel about this topic? I'm totally getting this. I mostly understand but have questions, or I'm still confused. And so on my page, I'm able to see the live results, right? So I want 100% of my class to participate. And once we are done, we could go ahead and review. I can show the live results if I want. And then once my students are done, I can go ahead and end and I could review it as well. We are going to jump to the teacher side. So if you are interested in any of those, go ahead and bookmark those. Would like you to do, so you've kind of got two options. You can go ahead and sign in to your Lumio account. If you have done that before and you know how to get signed in with your teacher credentials, that would be at golumio.com. It would be at golumio.com. Otherwise, you can just follow along on what I am presenting here. I'm just first thing I want to show you, and I'm on my page right now. This is what it brought me to after I was done presenting the session that I just did. This is called class sessions, and you can see up and on mine or yours, it is the one on the top right-hand side of your Lumio page. And so class sessions is a pretty new thing in Lumio. What I do is I took my base file that I presented today and I started a session. Okay. And once that session was over, it it leaves it at the top of my class sessions here. So the one on top is what I just completed with you. This is how I could go back in there and review any data if we had done any of that formative assessment or the student handouts. This is how I can go back in and see what my students did. If maybe we're doing one of those math choice boards and we're picking up the next day, I can start live again and we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. And then share assignment, it's going to give me that student link that I can drop into my students' Google Classroom. I'm going to go ahead to my library. And so my library, this is the landing page that you go to when you sign in as a teacher. And so my library is where all of my files are going to sit. You are able to create folders for your files and drag them and drop them just like you do with most programs. And then also, this is where you're going to start building any of the activities that you're looking to do. Okay. And so they're all going to be started by clicking the new button there in the top left-hand corner. So when I go ahead and I click new, this is my menu. These are all of the things that I can do in Lumio. They're all housed right there. I don't have to go looking in other places for them. They're all right there. So if I already have content that I want to bring in, maybe I already have a slide that has a tic-tac-toe board or a choice board or a Canvas slide. I'm going to bring it in just by clicking import resource there, and it's going to give me my options. All right. You can make sure that your Google Drive is embedded or enabled with Lumio, and you can pull things in directly from your Google Drive. You can actually even bring in your PDFs and PowerPoint slides as editable objects. So, you know, how many times have we gone to do a PowerPoint and we go to present it and we find a spelling mistake or we want to add something to it. So I can actually edit those PowerPoints direct and Google Slides directly in Lumio. All right, so if I have something to start with, I can start there. If I have nothing to start with, like I told you, I brought a couple of those objects right in from the Lumio library. So I can search from the Lumio library right here. So maybe I want to just search a choice board. Here's some examples, lots of different ideas. So here's a poetry choice board. So I could click on that. I can preview it. I can see it, see what it's got, see if it's what I'm looking for. And if it is, I can save it right to my lesson. Once it's brought into my lesson, it is all completely editable. I don't need to do exactly what it says. So I can click on edit activity. And so the image is already there for me. Maybe I want less choices, or maybe I want to reword some of these over here. So I can go ahead and make those edits that I want to, click next. I could change the background if I wanted to a different theme, and then I've got my activity ready for me. So now I'm already in the midst of building an activity. So from here, I'm going to click on that plus sign again, but now the plus sign is down on the bottom. So I'm going to click plus sign and I'm going to get the same menu. Okay, so I'm going to look for some different ideas. Maybe I want to do one of those shouted outs, right? what we started with when I asked you what is your role and what's your grade level. So I can choose shout it out. We could start with, so we could do randomized or we could do different categories. The categories is what I had before. Okay, so we can do multiple questions or we can just do one question. So maybe I want to do categories and maybe we're starting to talk about the water cycle. What is the water cycle? Brainstorming and seeing what they know about it. What are the parts of the water cycle? Okay, so we could just do those two. I could say I want them to answer this in live class mode. I'm going to choose this one. I don't get a lot of options, but I can always add a custom image to it. So I could click custom and I could insert an image by dragging something that I already have in there. So I could save an image to my background. So maybe I want a rain picture and a snow picture. I could bring those in. Otherwise, it's going to be my custom activity. If I want to reorder my slides, just like in Google Slides and PowerPoint, I can click and drag it so that it's in the correct order. Let's do another Lumio resource. So let's look for a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, so here is one similar to what I had shown you before. So maybe I just like the board, right? I could go ahead and save it to my lesson. And then if I wanted to, this is where I could add images that could be linked to different websites. There's a lot of ways I could do that. I could go ahead and add an image. So I could click on any of these objects here and I could go ahead and add a website to it by clicking the everything button. This is how I could link it right to a website. So I strongly encourage you guys to just go ahead and kind of play around with it. It's very, very user friendly. It's very easy to use. You can't do wrong, right? I mean, it kind of walks you through everything. If I want to add a YouTube video, okay. So again, it's a safe search. They're all ad and comment free. I can preview them here. And when I find what I like, I can go ahead and add it directly into my slides there. Game-based activities. This right here, so the game-based activities, there are 12. Flip out is the one activity. If I click on that, that was the activity where all of the different cards were flipping over. And so if there's a certain image that I want on the front of it, if I want to save it, I could then bring it in or I can search online here. So maybe we're doing a choice board for the water cycle. We'll stick with water cycle. And so maybe I want my image to be this one here. I could add it to multiple. All right, so we'll do those three. And then next to it, I could say, draw a diagram of the water cycle, make a slideshow explaining the water cycle. All right, so real quick, I can choose my background. And so there is my activity. I could have made a slide with the directions on it. So just real quick and easy. You guys saw how easy and fast I did that. And then the other one that had been there under game-based activities was that label reveal that I had shown you. It was the parts of the plant. All right, and so this is how you would make that. So I can drag an image or browse for one. We'll do this one. And so click within the image to add labels. So I would just click, I can enter the text. So flower, describe the functions. And then I can click and drag it. And so I could go ahead and add all my descriptions, finish it up, and then I've got my label review. That is it. It's that simple. So when I'm done, I want to make sure that my activity has a title and I can click finish editing. Once I'm done, it's going to show up in my library. And so this is now called my base file. Any of my activities that are in my library are considered my base file. And when I'm ready to start with my students, I would just click start new. They would join my class and it's creating that session. And remember that session data would then be saved in class sessions at the end, right? So here would be my activity. I still have some of you in my class. But what is the water cycle? What are the parts of the water cycle? And my student names, this is where I can decide, do I want them displayed or do I want them off? Like I said, you do not need to recreate something. There's so much material that can be used that's right there for you in that Lumio library. Thank you all for joining me.